The Donald Trump administration in the United States of America has overnight announced a massive escalation in tariffs imposed on Chinese imports to the United States of America, taking the US-China retaliatory tariff war altogether to a new level. China has accused the US of initiating this tariff war, insisting Beijing's response so far has been reasonable, legal and aimed at safeguarding Chinese interests. So Trump administration has overnight announced a massive new 245% tariff on Chinese imports to the US on some items, and the sweeping tariffs are in response to Chinese retaliation after the initial round of additional tariffs imposed on China. So China's retaliation includes US exports to China, and China has also put restrictions on procurement of Boeing passenger aircraft for Chinese airlines. Donald Trump's America First policy has led to this massive trade war. Additional tariffs on China are now being justified on national security grounds. The United States has accused China of restricting supplies of critical high-tech material to the US. So information that is being received indicates that China has restricted the supply of gallium, germanium and antimony, and China has restricted supplies that are very critical for military, aerospace and semiconductor industry in the United States of America. China has accused the United States of threatening and blackmailing Beijing. China, in a statement, has said they seek dialogue that's based on equality, respect and mutual benefit.
The president has made his position on China quite clear, although I do have an additional statement that he just shared with me in the Oval Office. The ball is in China's court. China needs to make a deal with us. We don't have to make a deal with them. There's no difference between China and any other country except they are much larger. And China wants what we have, what every country wants, what we have, the American consumer. Or to put it another way, they need our money. So the president, again, has made it quite clear that he's open to a deal with China, but China needs to make a deal with the United States of America.
这场关税战是美方发起的。
The tariff war was initiated by the US side, and China took necessary countermeasures to safeguard its legitimate rights and interests, as well as international fairness and justice, which are completely reasonable and lawful. China's position has always been clear. There is no winner in a tariff or trade war. China does not want a fight, but it is not afraid of a fight either. If the US truly wants to resolve the issue through dialogue and negotiation, it should stop its practice of maximum pressure and cease with threats and blackmail. Instead, it should engage in talks with China on the basis of equality, mutual respect and reciprocity.
But what does this tariff war mean? What will this tariff war lead to? What does it mean for China? What does it mean for the United States of America? And what does it mean for global economy? My colleague Rahul Kamal spoke exclusively to Martin Wolf, the chief economic commentator at the Financial Times, and he insists that Trump's tariffs are lunacy, utter lunacy, and that the Chinese President Xi Jinping will not buckle under US pressure. Listen in.
What do you make of China's policy response to Trump's tariffs? Far from buckling down, Xi Jinping seems determined to fight on. Do you think he has the right, from China's point of view, the right pushback strategy? Who suffers more in the end, China or the United States?
Well, I don't know whether he's right or not, but I thought it was inevitable. China is a very major power. It's a very proud country. It feels very strongly that it was humiliated in the 19th century and is not going to be humiliated again. So to bow down to a bully like Trump, and clearly he is a bully, will be very humiliating for Mr. Xi, and I think more broadly for the Chinese elite. So I always thought they wouldn't do so. They would resist. They have clearly worked very hard over many years to Trump-proof, if you like, their economy, and I think they will be in reasonable shape to do so. The trade impact will be significant, particularly if in the long run, the Americans are able to attack indirect Chinese exports, as I discussed. Direct exports from China to the US are not that huge. They can clearly survive. If they attack all the indirect exports, it would be more significant. But China finally has huge policy room. It can expand demand if it wants to. Public sector debt, government debt is very, very modest. It can clearly borrow more and spend more. It can transfer money to households which need it. It has a weak economy anyway, and that would motivate them, I think, to do these sorts of things. So I think they have a pretty fair degree of maneuver, room for maneuver.
But that seems to be against Xi's economic instinct. While he's a communist, he doesn't seem to be a socialist, and this kind of public welfare, social sector spends, from what he's said and done so far, seem to be against his economic instinct.
Yes, that I think is right, but there's an even more important instinct for survival. And I've just been in China a couple of weeks ago, and they are the technocrats I spoke were very clear that they are thinking about serious stimulus policies, really serious. And Mr. Xi knows very well, given that there's a weak demand already, there's a risk of deflation. He will be told by people that if they allow this to tip them over into a serious deflationary problem, with all the debt problems that will create in the private sector, in the local authority sector, that will be very bad for him. So in the end, I expect the Chinese to be pragmatic. Usually they have been.